Alright, this is Unit 3, Learning Target 3b. I can multiply monomials by polynomials. We talked last unit a little bit about what a monomial and a polynomial was. Just again, monomials are things that only have one term. Polynomials are things that have more than one term. Terms, again, are separated by addition or subtraction signs. So first example, 3 and then in parentheses 4x squared plus 2y. You'll know that when you have a number or something in front of the parentheses, you'll know that that means to distribute. That's all we're doing today. We are going to add just a little bit more difficulty to it than just distributing a 3, but we'll start with this one because it's familiar. You all know that we would distribute the 3 to the x squared, 4x squared, and we're going to distribute the 3 to the 2y. When we're multiplying and we've got numbers and variables in there, you're going to multiply your numbers together, you'll multiply your variables together, and then write down what you have. In this case, we just have a number out front, so when we multiply the 3 and the 4, we get 12. We didn't change anything about the x squared, so it just gets written down below. Then we multiply the 3 and the 2y to get positive 6y. Again, we didn't have another y to add to it, so it's just plus 6y. Again, distribute your 3 to get 12x squared. Distribute the 3 again to get 6y. Alright, so let's do an example now that does have another variable in it. So we're going to distribute 2x into 3x squared minus 5x plus 1. So if we distribute 2x to 3x squared, we're going to multiply our numbers. 2 and 3 gives us 6. Now we got to multiply our variables. Outside we've got 1x because it's just an x, and inside we've got x squared. Total x and x squared gives us x to the third. There are 3 x's sitting there. Distribute our 2x to our negative 5x. Multiply your numbers and get negative 10. Multiply your variables. We've got an x with a 2 and x with a negative 5. That gives me a total of x squared. And distribute our 2x to our 1 last. 2 times 1 is just 2. And there's no x to change, so it's just 2x. 2x times 1 is just 2x. So something to note that you maybe picked up on there. When you multiply, terms, you multiply the outside number and add your exponents. Alright, so I'll say that again. When you're multiplying terms, you multiply your whole numbers. So for example, in example 2, we multiplied our 2 and our 3 to get 6. And then you add your exponents. So here, in example 2 again, we had 1 as our exponent with the 2x, and we had 2 with the exponent for x squared. So total, we said x to the third. We added 1 and 2 to give us x to the third. Alright, example 3. Negative 4x to the third times x to the fourth minus x squared plus 3. Alright, we're still just going to distribute. So here we've got negative 4, and I guess you could say there's a 1 right here, but that's not really going to change a whole lot. Negative 4 and 1 just gives us a negative 4. When we multiply our x to the third times our x to the fourth, that gives you a total of x to the seventh. Again, when you're multiplying, you add your exponents. Distribute again. Negative 4, and in this case we've got a negative 1 right there. Negative 4 and negative 1 gives us a positive 4. X to the third, x squared gives us x to the fifth. Distribute again to the end. Negative 4 and positive 3, when you multiply those you get negative 12. We've got x to the third outside, no x's on the inside, so that just gives us a total of x to the third. Alright, last example. xy on the outside, and then we've got 4x plus 2y minus 3xy plus 5x squared y. Looks like a lot. It's really not anything different, so don't freak out. If we multiply the xy times the 4x, multiply your outside numbers, well, I guess you could say there's a 1 here, so 4 times 1 is 4. We've got an x on the outside and x on the inside, so that's going to give us x squared. And there's just one y in that set. Multiply the next two things. So 2 times 1, if you want to think about it like that, just gives us 2. We've got 1x between these two things. We've got a y on the outside and a y on the inside. So now we've got y squared. Alright, xy times negative 3xy. Multiply your numbers, and we get negative 3. Between this term and this term, we've got x and x, so x squared, y and y, so y squared. And then we've got one more term to distribute to. Our outside whole numbers, we've just got 5. When we multiply our x and our x squared, we've now got x to the third. There are 3 x's there. And then last pieces, y and y give us y squared. That is your final answer. You've distributed the xy to all 4 of those terms. Alright, last thing I'd like to say is just a reminder. Alright, when we are adding or subtracting polynomials, which is what we just did last time, the exponents don't change. With what we're doing now, when we're multiplying polynomials, our exponents change. We add them together. When you're adding or subtracting, just a reminder, you only add or subtract the number that's out front. So let's look at one last thing. If we said like 3x minus 2x, you would say if you've got 3x's here and you take away 2x's, that's just going to give you 1x. You can write the 1 out front if you really want to, but 1x is just x. Versus if we're doing 3x times 2x, 3 and 2 give you 6, x and x give you x squared. So just make sure that you don't get those two confused. When you're adding or subtracting, you add or subtract your like terms. The value of the exponent doesn't change. When you're multiplying, you don't have to have like terms per se, because you're just adding and subtracting those, or combining those exponents. Alright, we will take Unit 3, or Unit 3, Learning Target 3b, combine it with Learning Target 3c and 3d, and you'll have one 4-question quiz over all three of those learning targets. So don't need to worry about a quiz on this one quite yet. You've got a couple more learning targets to look at before you're going to have a quiz. Thanks.